Welcome to Great Talking Entertainment. I am your host, KJ, and this is the podcast where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. And this is my spoiler review for the new movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which is in theaters right now. So if you have not seen this, pause this, give me a thumbs up, because that would help my YouTube channel grow. And go out and see Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in theaters now, whenever you can. And then come back, listen to this, and let me know what you think about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and what you think in theories what be the next thing they go with the next Sonic film. So, again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Now, yeet. Let's get. This film starts off with Sonic and the gang are hanging out on a campground site where they usually hang out from Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. And we see Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles have a little friendly race. And in a comedy way, Sonic was just being so Sonic as soon as they started racing. And he was just being so cool, and he ran the way you would imagine playing a Sonic the Hedgehog game. I loved it. And he was just surprised because guess what? It was his birthday, aka / Earth Day for him, because that's the day he landed on Earth from his world to theirs. And he's really surprised, and he realized that after he ran at the finish line and see hologram versions of Knuckles and Tails. And I love that part because it was a video game reference where if you play a Sonic the Hedgehog game and you don't pause it, let's say you just leave your controller and go to the bathroom or whatever, that Sonic or whoever is going to tap their foot and stare at you like the fourth wall, and that's what they did to Sonic. And I thought that was really, really cool. And of course we get our heartwarming family moment all at the campgrounds, in front of a fire, just hanging out, having a good time. But then, woo! Then it goes to another scene where we see the location of a gun, which is like a military group, part of the government. And they have Shadow the Hedgehog, who we get introduced, in a tube. And he's been in there for 50 years. But then one of the characters, Gerald Robotnik, who we get introduced, and is played by Jim Carrey, as Jim Carrey plays Dr. Robotnik, aka Eggman. And Gerald Robotnik hacks the system, and Shadow wakes up, and we see like him having a dream of the character Maria, who all the hardcore fans of the Sonic games know from the Sonic the Hedgehog Battles 2 adventures, and I believe the Shadow the Hedgehog game. But so we get that, and he wakes up, and man, they did Shadow the Hedgehog amazing. The way he whooped all those military guys is the way he would do it in the Sonic games. He don't run. He runs, but he's not running. His feet is floating or levitating or gravitating, and he's just running fast in midair and just drop kicking people and stuff. Like, it's really cool. And he escapes. He goes to, and this was in Tokyo, Japan, and he lands right in the middle of downtown of Tokyo, Japan. And we get like, obviously it's Keanu Reeves, so in this, in a way, it reminded me of John Wick. He walked the way John Wick would walk, because obviously he's voiced acted by Keanu Reeves, which I thought that was really cool. And, he's causing havoc because he's mad at everybody. He's mad at the whole world. And in this film, we learn that Gerald Robotnik and Shadow decided to literally blow up the whole planet Earth because of what happened to Maria and Death, which we know in the movie was just an accident, because the general that's, asking Sonic and his team, Knuckles and Tails, to help him, when in his younger days, he was helping Gerald Robotnik out in the military, and he showed a really soft side to the two, and he really cared, but he accidentally caused the problem. there was like these tanks or gamma ray explosion stuff, and he had one of the guards accidentally shoot that because he was trying to protect them from killing Shadow, but Shadow doesn't understand what's going on. And so while he's in downtown Tokyo, Japan, he takes out a bunch of people, and then we get Director Rockwell and her group of military people flying down from their military helicopter and picking up Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails because they need help. And this is where we get this epic battle between Shadow and Sonic and Tails and Knuckles, just showing how this is the first time they're meeting, and of course it was funny. And then obviously Shadow knocks out everybody, and as Sonic chases him, we see the epic moment where Shadow has one of the military guns, and which I thought was a good idea. It was pretty clever because obviously they're not gonna really give Shadow a real gun in a kids show, but the idea of it. But he drove the motorcycle. If you play the Shadow the Hedgehog game, you would know that you can ride a motorcycle, which was pretty badass, I would say. And as we see Sonic chasing them, they're going as fast as they can, and we see how much amazing Shadow's ability, which that really helps the audience who are not into video games, but who are aware of Sonic and kids like Sonic. So now they're seeing the difference between Shadow and Sonic's ability, where it's completely different. Yes, hedgehogs, they're both hedgehogs, and they both are fast, but there's a big difference, and it makes the way they make sure that it's very clear how different they are was perfect. Even the design of Shadow was just magnificent. I mean, you can tell a big difference between these two, but I really like that because that's very important when you're going to introduce so many characters or have this much plot going on in a story. So I thought that was really awesome. And then Shadow wins again, and Sonic is handcuffed by what the Tails has made, and they get him out, and then they go to the Chio Garden, which is just like a Chuck E. Cheese for them. And I thought it was funny. I was hoping they would really have those little characters, but they don't. But that's okay. I like what they were doing it. And now the general there has gave Sonic one of the keys, and now Sonic and Knuckles and Tails have to go to where it all began for Shadow. And same thing for Shadow, where we see Joe Robotnik. But also in this film, this is the first time we've seen Dr. Robotnik team up with Sonic and the gang. And it was very interesting, but I really like they were going with it, and they kind of changed it up. And we'll talk about the mid-credit, the post-credit scenes and all that, and the ending, of course. But at first, this didn't make sense of why. I felt like it was kind of still too early to have these two work together. But I like where they go, because we see Dr. Robotnik kind of like depressed. You know, he's gaining a lot of weight. You know, he's been kind of sloppy and lazy because, you know, he's still upset about what happened in the events of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, pretty much being butthurt about it. But that was the first time, and we see like some of the like not so important characters, they had their time to shine, which they're more the human characters, and they all had their time to shine. And I really like this one because, you know, I felt like sometimes the human characters within this franchise had too much time on the screen, and I felt like it took away more time to see Sonic the Hedgehog and other characters like him. And I really like they shortened it, but they gave them important roles in the scenes and moments to shine for that moment. Because again, when we get to Jim Carrey, who's pretty much the OG actor in as far as everybody in this cast, I mean, yeah, he deserves more screen time because he's Jim Carrey in general, and he did such a good job. Again, if you've seen him as the Grinch or Liar Liar, anything like that, this guy is good. He put on the best performance he could. to play Dr. Robotnik and Gerald Robotnik and made sure they're totally different but had a lot in common. And I loved it. I loved everything about it. And we know I like about it, he found a way to show Gerald Robotnik more evil, more devious than Dr. Robotnik. Even though he's playing the same character, he found a way to make him seem like they're alike, but found ways to make each and one of them, especially Gerald Robotnik, much different. For example, Dr. Robotnik's really good at making better suits. As we see, like one suit, they can have this suit where the lasers that they snuck in the headquarters of Gun, and they had that funny dance scene. That's Dr. Robotnik's probably best thing. He's very good at being prepared for traps and stealing, while Gerald Robotnik's better at secretly planning, setting things up, putting things in the right place. Like, he's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers type deal. And that's the beauty of it. And Jim Carrey did well and great to keep that on point and give us a little difference where people can really understand. And it was amazing. When there were scenes where they had to be just alike, Jim Carrey, he did it. He got it right. Excellent. Loved it. He was killing it on that. And to see when a softer side of Dr. Robotnik doing the heroic thing, as at the end of this film, they had to stop it because wiping out the entire planet, including Dr. Robotnik, was not sitting well with him. So he helped Tails and Knuckles, while Sonic and Shadow, after they had a huge battle between each other. Now remember, Shadow, he punched Todd, knocked him out, had to send him to the hospital. So Sonic was angry. And if you remember in the beginning of the film, Sonic had a chat with Todd, and he was like, look, only negative it does is change your heart. And I think that's what it was, but it was just protecting your heart, being kind, a very good, important message. And that whole fight where those two were fighting in space was important. And to see Sonic stop himself from becoming Shadow was amazing. And then they had that moment where they kind of buddied up, and Shadows was ready to change his way, and he's ready to save the day with Sonic. And when they used those Chaos Emeralds again, amazing. Loved it. And they saved the day, of course. And at the end of that film, after everything's done, Dr. Eggman sacrificed himself, Shadow sacrificed himself, and the world was saved. And then at the end, they went back to the campground from the first scene, had another race, and Sonic ran so fast he ran all the way to New York. And that's where we see Metal Sonic and a gang of Metal Sonic, but he was saved by the one and other as they introduced Amy. And that was neat. I love it. And then when we get to I believe the mid-credit scene, as they call it, we saw Shadow, which is a plus. We know he's alive. And then we saw Silver the Hedgehog, which is a really cool character. And I can't really speak about him because there's not a lot. I haven't watched. I've seen Sonic Prime and Sonic Boom, but I'm not really familiar with this character. But I thought that was really cool, because we know in the year 2026 or 2027, they're coming out with Sonic 4 in spring. And so we know these characters are going to be in it. And now it's going to be interesting with all these characters and what can they do with them. So I can't wait, but let's get into some topics. Let's just talk about Jim Carrey, a.k.a. Dr. Robotnik, and Gerald Robotnik as he played. Again, I loved what he did. I think he's a master. He's probably one of the best actors in comedy, and he killed it. I mean, this is Jim Carrey at his best, again, and I just thought he did well. Now, I have a theory with his character, Dr. Robotnik, a.k.a. Eggman. I feel like there's going to be a multiverse story in the future, and I just think he's in a different multiverse or a different world. And he's been in different worlds before since Sonic 1. So it's a possibility. But also, it could be a time travel movie. But I think something's going on because Metal Sonic's from the future, so something happened. But I also have a theory, too, with that is that I think if he's not in a different multiverse or he's time traveling, there's a possibility Dr. Eggman went back to being evil and he was like in a different universe in a future way where he probably defeated Sonic and he knows that, but he wants to go back in his world to his universe and attack Sonic with Metal Sonic. That's what I think. There's so many ways that they can go with it, but it depends what if they can get Jim Carrey back into Sonic the Hedgehog. So I'll leave it as that. Let's talk about Amy in the post-credit scene. So, what I like about Amy, I can imagine Anna Taylor playing Amy. I mean, I think that would be a good cast. I just want to put that off because we didn't hear her talk, but it's gonna be really exciting too. And the reason why I bring up Anna Taylor is because I'm thinking about the character Amy. If you don't know who she is, she's the girlfriend of Sonic, but she's like Miss Piggy and Kermit. She's very obsessive with Sonic, and she's very protective of Sonic. She doesn't like other women talking to Sonic, and Sonic's always playing hard to get, and she's very bossy and demanding, and she's very loud. She wants what she wants and nobody else. Now, obviously, she's nice and caring for others, and she's gonna do the right thing, but she's so loyal to Sonic, and Sonic sometimes is not interested in her because she could be very loud and obnoxious. But I think like somebody like Anna Taylor would be good for that. I just wanted to put that out there. I mean, there's so many other people. Let me know who you would like to see Amy Rose play her in Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Let me know in the comments. But that's who I would think. Now, I also have a theory too that director Rockwell, I think she could be controlling Metal Sonic, and I think it's her gang of Metal Sonics too. That's a possibility because we didn't see her then, and she seems like she has her own hidden agenda from this, so it could be her. And let's talk about Silver. Now, Silver's from the future. So there's a time where Sega decided to copy and paste like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z series and all them about Goku and Vegeta and the whole Dragon Ball story saga. They kind of copy and paste that. That's why we see Shadow or Knuckles and Sonic very competitive with each other. Shadow, I don't know how to compare Shadow to and Dragon Ball characters, but they had like similarities now, especially with the Chaos Emeralds. They Super Saiyan up in a way, but they all just turn gold or whatever. And then Silver's from the future, so it's kind of like Trunks from Dragon Ball, who's from the near dear future or whatever. And they usually just come back when their future is messed up, and they have to go back in time to stop the thing that prevented the most heroic thing they can do to stop the evil tragic that happened in their world. So it's one of those type of things. And Silver's been changed in different ways, his personality. So I think really they're kind of go the bro type character way with his personality, which is fine. It's all good with me. But Silver Hedgehog is pretty different too from Sonic and Shadow, and he's not about speed. He's more about teleporting, transporting, and some other things. So you'll have it, but you'll get it. But it's really fun, and he's a newer character added to the Sonic universe of Sega. So he I was playing because that character wasn't in the older Sonic, but like Amy and Metal Sonic were like OG characters from Sonic the Hedgehog. I think they debuted in the Sonic 3D on PC at the time, but that's just one of them. But I can't wait to see him too. But what I'm thinking is it's either be a time traveling story or a multiverse story. And there's so many ways they can go with it. So I'm really curious of what that means. And with Shadow, if they continue on, which they probably will, I think it'd be a good idea to do a solo movie with Shadow and continue on from where he may have crashed. We don't know if he crashed on Earth or a different world, but it'd be interesting to see where he's at. And maybe Sonic 4 is not the right spot for him. Maybe they can tell this story in a Shadow movie. But who knows? And Keanu Reeves, you might as well. That's what I would do. But other than that, I love this movie. It felt like a video game. I just didn't have a controller in my hand. And that's what I loved about this movie. And what I didn't like is my only complaint is I wish they told a little bit more of Dr. Robotnik's backstory. Like, I believe it's been a long time since I played Sonic Adventures Battles 2. But I think Maria is the sister of Dr. Eggman. I think they're brother and sister. And I just don't. But that's one thing I like about it, because in this movie I did like how they showed the relationship between Shadow and Maria. But I always thought, man, this is the right time too to kind of give us where Dr. Eggman was at in this time. If Gerald Robotnik, like, who's Dr. Eggman's dad? We know that's his grandpa. So who's the father of Maria and Dr. Eggman? And I wish they added that, even just talked about it in a way, because I thought that'd be interesting to make us really see another side of Dr. Eggman that we can't really see in video games. And I thought this would be the right time, especially in the third installment. You might as well just go all out with this, especially with a complete, perfect trilogy Sonic franchise movies right here. Like, they should have done that. But that's my only thing I don't like about it. But again, I liked how they showed the relationship between Maria and Shadow. And I can see why that's more important to focus on for this, because we're trying to learn and understand who Shadow the Hedgehog is. So I'm okay with that. But again, I loved it. I think out of these three films, this is a really perfect trilogy for a movie series. And it's been a long time since things like that. I mean, we can debate about Marvel and DC and all that, but and Star Wars, of course. But for a game franchise like this is perfect. And I just wonder now, like, what's next? And do we get that Sega and Nintendo collaboration in live action? You know, like, obviously it'd be different, but I would think they would want to lead up to something like that too, because they obviously this is a success, so now people in the movie industry is watching this and saying, okay, let's see if we can come up with a script for video game characters and make them to a movie like this. You know, this is going to spark ideas and inspiration, because it's doing very successful. And think about it, Paramount, we can do Warner Brothers, you can do, Universal. I mean, so much. Nintendo's got so much other game characters, just like Sega. Sega has so many other franchise games that they can turn into a movie. From Monkey Ball to Earthworm Jim. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. But there's so many that the Sega universe, cinematic universe, could be beyond Sonic. And who knows if they do it, but there's so much. So I definitely want to see that. I definitely am hoping to see that. But so many possibilities. And I think they set the bar high, and Sega might be some competition to Marvel Studios if they wanted to expand this universe. Like, can Sonic and Monkey Ball coexist in the same universe. There's so many, but it's the question, do they want to? Because of the success, should they? Would they? And how could they? But but with this, there's so much possibilities, and there's a chance to pull it off. So I hope that they continue doing some Sonic stuff, but I also hope they could find a way to all make it all in the same universe with this other Sega game franchise characters. Maybe Mega Man. I don't know. I know that's Capcom, but I'm just saying. You can do, maybe Capcom should make live action movies and aim it towards kids, like the Super Mario Bros. and Sonic, of course. Like, there's so much, so much. But it gets me in hope for that, and that's what I like about this movie. And it just means a lot watching this. I grew up watching Sonic, playing the games. He's one of my favorite video game characters, so I definitely enjoy this. So if I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I gotta give it a 10 out of 10, baby. Perfect. Loved it. They need more of this. For a kids show movie, it was really good story. The story was excellent. The ending was perfectly executed, on point. It made sense. They didn't do nothing that wouldn't be Sonic. They didn't do anything that wouldn't be Shadow. They did things that only would make sense for these characters to do, act, and talk, and respond to devastating things. So I love it. But that's my review, y'all. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment Official Channel. Subscribe and hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.